Nothing's more terrifying than a
if
freaking
I'm
camel spider
if I'm
running after you.
fighting somebody and they just release camel spiders in my tent, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not going to fight that guy. Screw that. Hey guys, this is the Hard Time Strongman podcast, cheering up a bear class of man. And today, we're going to talk about sabotage, or saboteurs. Sabotage is to deliberately destroy, damage, or obstruct something, especially for political or military advantage, as per the Oxford Languages. Sabotage. In the right hands,
Beastie Boys.
in the right hand, sabotage can be extremely effective weapon. Talking about dwindling personnel numbers, equipment. Overall, you're just making hell for somebody. You're adding an entire dimension of conflict that is extremely, extremely hard to deal with. So
Psychological warfare is what it is,
and tangible, because
it is.
psychological, you're just messing with somebody's mind a lot of the time. But it's like a marksman, right? So psychological warfare, but also there's a felt, like thing right there, and it makes you watch your back, which
It does.
talking about, like a small force taking on a larger force, that is a huge force multiplier for you.
Anything to tie up personnel, transports, supplies, anything to tie them up and like delay them is a win. And that's what sabotage is for. It's to make them think twice about doing something because something bad could happen. I mean, think
Well, it's to fight
World War II,
well it's
Vietnam.
it's essentially fighting secondhand is what it is. So what you're doing, you're destroying, you're delaying, you're halting, you're routing, like all of this can be done, but you're doing it on the front end, hopefully obviously before you can have conflict, which makes it extremely effective for people with lower numbers. But
Absolutely.
the discussion of sabotage, so this is important both for its value in the offense, so if you are that smaller force taking on that larger force, or in the defense, if you're worried about sabotage or you have people who are actively sabotaging you. This will we're going to try to give you guys considerations and things to think about going forward for both those cases. So particularly, we're going to talk about sabotage in relation to personnel, vehicles, equipment, infrastructure, and then we're going to dip into some just abstract applications, some abstract what am I trying to say? Just abstract concepts. So
There you go. Get it all out.
Yeah, we'll get there.
One day.
Someday. So, personnel. When you think personnel, if you had to sabotage people, where are you going to go after? What is your focus on?
So I keep flashing back to Toy Story. When you pull the back on Woody, let it go. Someone's poisoned the water hole.
Seriously. Water supply. So, water holes, water wells, water buffaloes. If you destroy a pallet of, water bottles that are just so nicely held out in front of the talk, I mean, your enemy, your adversary are people, and people need to drink water quite often.
If you can get to their water buffalo and taint that, oh my gosh, especially if they don't realize it. Just, you know what? Just as a comic relief, just pouring in a bunch of Miralax.
Goodness sakes. Not even comic relief. You're actively dehydrating people.
Think about that. Holy crap, literally.
I mean, and this is what I'm talking about, a whole new dimension of conflict, right? So imagine, if you're in some fob, right? Let's say like, outside the States, right? If you're in some fob, and then just everybody starts having uncontrollable diarrhea.
Not even uncontrollable, explosive.
Yeah, but funny, right?
Hilarious.
But it's only funny until you can't stop.
It's, yeah, as long as it's not happening to you.
Right, but think about everybody. Think about every single person has uncontrollable explosive diarrhea, can't stop. You know that you're being dehydrated in that desert. And what are you going to do? That's your water.
It can even be done on small scale, individual scale with eye drops into
That's true.
someone's
That's
water.
true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But water supply, food supply, tainting the food,
Yes. Oh,
letting
yeah.
food spoil, destroying food.
Stealing it.
They're stealing it to destroy it. I mean, there's a lot that you can do there. Bedding and clothing. So when I wrote that down, I was thinking of uh, American settlers.
Smallpox.
Yeah, with the blankets.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Probably one of the worst things that has ever happened to
Mm-hmm.
our
Biological
our
warfare.
indigenous folks. Yeah, it's terrible. And if you think, and honestly, not to get on a tangent, but if you think the government is going to save you or be there for you, I'll just remind you of what they did to the American Indians.
Has not changed. In fact, they've become more uh, resilient and efficient in their efforts.
Yep. But no, you're right, 100%. If you can somehow taint the bedding, the the clothing that you put on, I mean, just think of what you could do. You could lace clothing with,
A skin irritant.
yes, a skin irritant. You could, back in the day, they used to dye clothing with a special dye, a green dye, because it was supposed to green was supposed to be the symbol of like money,
Mm.
like of wealth. And what would happen is the women that were working in these factories dyeing these clothings were absorbing the dye into their
Yeah.
hands, and it was toxic. It was killing them.
Yeah. Not even that involved. Like think about just getting insulation, fiberglass insulation, and running that
Oh
on
my
bed
God.
sheets.
Hey.
Everybody strips down, hops in bed immediately, just
Hmm.
lays in a bed of fiberglass.
Yep.
Yeah,
Made even worse if you're sweating.
yeah. So right, you're like, oh, that's not that bad. Yeah, but think about if you just got off a 12-hour guard shift. You
Hmm.
go to bed down for the 4 hours that you're allotted to before you have to do PT and every other admin duty you have to do, and then you can't sleep because you just slept. You just lay down in a bed of fiberglass. I mean, this is 100% psychological warfare. This is 100% the long game. So sabotage, big and small.
Yeah.
Equipment. I immediately think of Project Eldest Son. So
You skipped one.
I skipped one. What did I skip? I
You
did.
skipped
I
building and housing.
housing. Okay,
I
shoot.
mean, what? So, so when that comes to mind, you could middle winter, you could break out the glass in a house if they're trying to bed in that. You could cut holes in the roof. You could
Destroy the AC
um,
in summer.
destroy the AC, destroy the heater in winter. You could cut holes in the tent, especially on the bottom. And if it's supposed to rain and it comes up underneath, oh, how miserable! Have you ever woken? Yes, you have. You've woken up in a bed.
Yes, I have. Say less. No, I like where your head's at though. So yeah,
Oh man.
just think about what is shelter for? It's to make a barrier between you and your outside environment, right?
Hmm.
So use that environment. If you're in Texas or you're in Arizona in the middle of August and someone kills your AC, you're not going to stay in that building.
Oh no.
I'll tell you right now, in Texas, like, yeah, you'll leave, but in Arizona, you'll friggin' die. Like, you're going to have guys heat catting, like, left and right if you don't have your AC.
Oh, 100%. It's like Afghanistan. The AC for our room went out
Mm,
in middle of summer there. Holy crap. That was miserable for like 2, 3 days until they can get a replacement.
yeah. But I love where you were going with Windows. Knock out the windows, knock out the lights. Like, every building's going to be connected to power, communications. Does not take much to make that go
Guys,
away.
Hasn't released spiders in there, snakes,
I was gonna say rats. Rats or mice.
rats. If you have access to them, what the hell were those things called that we dealt with in frickin' Afghanistan?
Camel spiders.
Scorpion family looking.
Camel spiders.
If you have access to them, release some camel spiders in there.
If
Nothing's more terrifying than
if
a
I'm
camel spider.
if I'm
after
fighting somebody and they just release camel spiders in my tent, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not gonna fight that guy. Screw that. If that guy just has camel spiders on tap, like it's not a fight worth fighting. Like that's just that's a whole new level.
I think I've still got a picture of one from our deployment.
Yeah, those
things are not small.
Those things are massive. I had to hunt one while I was on CQ one time.
And they will gnaw holes in
or not CQ. I was SOG. Yeah, they're freaking massive. But I was just thinking, so with housing, especially if you have like a unified little operation, if you throw a Molotov cocktail or something in 3 different buildings at once,
oh dude,
like, yeah, you can seal this up bad, big time.
Oh my god. Or just use some Blackbeard Firestarter and set one of the buildings on fire. Or don't. Hard Time Strong Men is not condoning arson.
Use code STRONGMEN with Blackbeard Firestarter to get 10% off anything in their store. We also have a kit called the Hard Time Strong Men Fire Kit. Go check them out at blackbeardfirestar.com or on Instagram at blackbeardfire.
Hey everybody, this is 6 and 7 with the Hard Time Strong Men podcast, and we are coming to talk to you about our Patreon and Discord.
Hey guys, our patrons get early access to all of our episodes. They get all of our exclusive pre and post shows, all of our spicy takes, all of our rabbit holes that we go on, everything that we want to include in an episode, but we can't because we need to stay on topic. And soon enough, we will be offering digital downloads, guides, everything that we've been working on in the background will soon be available to our patrons. So make sure to check it out.
And come hang out with us on Discord. Speaking of the spicy stuff, this is where we discuss most of it. Once you're there, you'll get access to all of our in-depth discussions, including stuff like homesteading, fieldcraft, medical, camping, communications, shooting. You like ARs? Come talk to us about it. You like 4x4 vehicles and prepping? Come talk to us about it.
You like tannerite, thermite, napalm? Come talk to us about it. All of the campfire talks that would get us kicked off of other platforms, it's right there in our Discord. Come join our community.
We're active on Discord every day. We're interacting with members constantly. We have guys from every walks of life coming to contribute their expertise to all of these various fields and subjects that we've been talking about.
Come join the Discord. Come join the Discord. Join our community. Build up that better class of man. Now back to the episode. So in my head, I'm thinking of like 1980s Red Dawn type scenario, right? You know, they were in the woods for a few months, then they went back home, right? To to their home being occupied. So I'm just thinking kind of in that scenario, in that playground, what that would look like for you, especially if you were a citizen inside. So, you know, if you were the worst case scenario captured, you know, they took all of your arms and then you're, you know, not in the internment camp, but you still are, you know, under siege essentially, or you're occupied. You know, what could that look like for you to give your buddies an advantage or to slow down or, you know, maybe end, you know, that occupation on your terms, right? So there's a lot that you can do. You just have to be creative.
Definitely think outside the box for a lot of things. It's what can you do to make life hell for these people?
Mm-hmm. That's another thing I didn't think about. Hygiene. Right?
Yes.
So
yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so you can sabotage, you know, if they're working out porta johns, or they brought like one of those trucks with the, you know, with the hygiene areas inside. You know what I'm talking about? The little pop up showers or toilets.
Yeah.
You know, if you sabotage that, you know, everybody's got to, you know, poop and pee. If you take away their modern accommodations, then we're going back to digging cat holes, right? So you're automatically making a weak spot that someone could exploit.
So
Because you're not going to
I,
poop and pee in the streets because that's going to be a health hazard for you and all your
you know
Joes.
what, you're not going to poop in a porta john either if there's a rattlesnake inside of it. Just throwing that out there.
That's dark. Yeah.
Hey,
I mean, you got a point. Yeah. But so vehicles. I jumped ahead to vehicles a little bit ago, but there's a lot that you can do there. A lot that you can do there, especially if you don't care about the vehicle anymore.
correct. Like if you don't want that vehicle, there is no end to things that you can do to those vehicles. I mean, if they run on keys, sabotage the actual like starter, the ignition.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, good.
We need
Or
to
gallium. Oh my God, there's so much.
gallium, expanding foam, a sharp knife.
Quick drying cement.
Dude, a 10 mil bolt and an impact driver. Like,
Thermite.
thermite. Yeah. Or just toasting the interior. I mean, hot in a flame, it's not all metal in there. You have plastic bits.
Mm-hmm.
That melts. That's not usable anymore.
Right.
You know?
I mean, how miserable were those vehicles in Afghanistan when the AC didn't work in them?
Yeah. But I mean, think about it, right? So even if it's not a permanent issue, right? But if you walk down a line and you pop 20 tires before you leave, that's a
Oh, they
time
gotta
suck.
change them all.
That's a time suck, man. Yeah.
It
Huge.
freaking is.
Huge.
And I mean, there's so much other stuff that can be an issue that I mean, honestly, like pouring sugar in the gas tank.
Dude, spray painting the
Dude.
windshield.
Oh, that's a good one.
Think about how long that would take if you did before they could catch it while it was wet. If it dried.
Oh, both sides. Do both sides. You got time.
Yeah, but if it dries, imagine trying to get that off.
Ugh.
And you're not doing high speed or highway speeds with the windshield off. You're just not. So yeah, you spray
Ground
paint.
up insulation. Put it in the AC ducts.
I
turn that
knew
on.
I knew what you were gonna say a split second before you said that. That is miserable. Whew.
Or talc powder. Oh my gosh.
Wow. Or a grenade with a wire taped to or tied onto the door.
Yeah, that'll work too.
Anyway. No, but so like rally canning the windshield and then the mirrors, like if that's not deadlining it for a normal full scale force, that's at least gonna slow you down pretty darn bad.
I mean,
And yet again, this is stuff
hell,
that you
even
can just go to Walmart. Like you can just go to any freaking hardware store, buy black
Yeah.
spray paint, and you're good to go.
if you're counting on them using the windshield wipers, pour oil in the windshield wiper fluid. They spray that on the windshield. That is going to screw with their stability, and it's going to be great. I'm going to laugh when they run off the road.
Just take their windshield wipers.
Yes.
So, like our, well, we don't quite know them. We love what they're doing though. The guys over at Dirty Civilian, like they say, is a lot easier to break something than it is to build something. So when we're talking about sabotage and working behind the scenes to slow down or stop a force that's a lot bigger than you, it's super easy to break stuff. A lot of fun too.
There it is.
Which
We're
brings
seeing that
us
a lot too with infrastructure.
Yeah. So we saw that.
Where was that?
We saw that with the riots. We saw that with a whole bunch of stuff.
Well,
Natural
in
disasters,
Ukraine.
anything. Yeah.
Ukraine, they were sabotaging the highways by taking backhoes and just
Yeah.
digging up the road.
Yeah.
Like you do that, you're halting movement down that road until they can fix it.
I mean, we talked about this with Critter not too long ago.
Mhm.
We haven't released the episode yet, but on air denial.
Yep.
Right? So moving vehicles, digging in vehicles, destroying, certain key choke points to funnel, to deny access to.
to set up ambushes for. Yeah.
all,
Oh yeah.
all sorts of stuff. Yeah. But
All sorts of fun stuff.
I mean, think about any time that you got clogged up on the highway
Yeah.
for 20, 30 minutes, an hour, then you get to it and you're like, oh, that was one vehicle that broke down in just the right spot.
Yep.
That's all
You
it
could fell a
takes.
tree across the road,
Yeah.
drop a power line across it.
Fell a tree, power line. You could, park a vehicle, then flip it over. You could,
Park a vehicle, set it on fire.
dump a 50-gallon tank of gasoline across the road and then light on fire, or whatever the hell you want to do. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But what we're talking about with, with buildings, with housing, anyways, that goes for buildings, just normal buildings as well. Doors, windows, security systems, emergency systems. I mean, any little thing, because you have to think that this is big and small, right? So let's say your situation, you are in like a Red Dawn type scenario where you've been occupied. Okay. That occupying force, along with making sure that you stay in check so they don't have to kill the whole town and, trash public opinion, right? They're doing other stuff. They have other priorities of work. They have to maintain communication. They have to maintain a supply line. They have to, use wherever you're at as a staging point and stepping off point for whatever operations that they have to take in the area. So, say you just go ahead and trash your own power grid. Yeah, you can't use it. They can't use it anymore either, though.
Right.
And what does that really take? Some foil balloons, a rock with some copper wrapped around it. You just mag dumping into a power transformer. I mean, it doesn't take a lot. Say they're using your own security system, your own like CCTV cameras. What does that really take? Some wasp spray that can shoot 20, 30 feet? A rattle can?
22.
A 22? A 22? Think about if they're
I'm
using...
not even joking.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. Yeah, a little 1022 breakdown with a little aim point on it. No sweat. Absolutely.
Empty bottle of water on the end. Yep.
Absolutely. No sweat. Think about if they're...
use an air gun.
Yes, you can. Texas air guns. Yeah. Think about if they're using your own infrastructure, right? So your own buildings. How hard would it be for you to just walk around that building with extra, like a extra size can of expanding foam that you bought from Home Depot or Lowe's? Go to every single lock and go down the line. How long is that going to take before the private's like, oh, I can't stick the key in, this is weird, and then they figure out that's every single lock in that building, like, and you suddenly just locked the entire building down. Not for long, right? Probably, maybe,
Right.
Maybe it did forever, and they have to now take off all those locks, and they can't properly secure that building anymore.
At the very least, you became a severe annoyance for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Which is also hilarious.
Talking about, not really even doing anything. If you drop a backpack in the middle of the highway when you know they're going to be coming down in 10 minutes and you've set up a couple IEDs before, you just stop the entire convoy with nothing but a backpack that has nothing in it.
You could even do it with a plastic bag filled with random crap and maybe find some like wires to just kind of barely stick out of it and go back into it. Like you're going to shut down that area, guaranteed.
Oh, dude, so you go to a hardware store, you get some some aux cord or some like radio cord from like an auto shop. Get 100 feet of that, tie that off in a sewer grate, wire that into a building, and then just dump the spool. Guaranteed no one's driving by that.
Oh my God.
Like, and this has to do with, we talked with Career before on the podcast, and he was saying about like minefields. Like once you build that in their head, this is where the psyops comes in. Once you build it in someone's head that that's a possibility, then they have to second guess everything.
You're living rent free
in their heads. Like, think about if, you are one of those lucky few that weren't caught in that town and you start taking pot shots, right? At random dudes, you get lucky a couple times, take down a couple of them, make a rat trap, and then you have your buddy put spray paint tag a building that says sniper at work. Like, yeah, man.
Well,
Sabotage is getting in people's
along
heads.
it is. And you were talking about IEDs earlier in the backpacks. What was the main thing that we would give pause to in both Iraq and Afghanistan? Roads that have been dug up, loose dirt. You take that a step further, take a hunk of metal, not even like explosive, hunk of metal, drop it down in there, fill it back over that. That road shut down for a while.
Or unbury it a little bit so they can see it.
A little bit of curved steel, yes.
Yeah. Well, you know what you're talking about digging up dirt? Get a post hole digger. Go down the highway every 20 or 30 feet, dig a little hole. Make sure that the unearthed dirt can make a little mound. Please tell me you would drive down that road. No. No, you would not.
Yeah, don't. No.
Because you are then risking your entire convoy yet again. So you make 20, 30 holes, fill one of them with an actual IED. For if they get brave enough that they think it's all fake. Yeah, and you can't do that. When you're that defending force, you're not gonna do that. You're gonna check out every single hole, or you're going a different way. Mm-hmm. And you just canalize somebody, or you just diverted somebody from where maybe you were doing something you didn't want them to go.
I mean, think about my point though. Like, if you bury a little bit of metal in there, like they could run over that with freaking metal detector and it goes off. I think there's something's there, even if there's not, and you just tied up so many resources right off the bat.
Yeah. Well, and then that whole convoy is stopped. I mean, that's an ambush right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Reaper on Instagram talked about gallium a little bit. Wonderful chemical reaction with aluminum or steel.
Yes.
Destroys the integrity of it, which you can buy on Amazon. Sometimes I love this country so much.
Oh my God, I know. It is incredible the things you can find on there that just be so useful.
Yeah. Historical example that we thought of was Project Eldest Son.
Oh, right. Going back to that, the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
That was Vietnam, if I remember right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was Vietnam era. Yeah. Yeah, it was Vietnam because of Viet Cong. Yeah.
That's right. You want to explain what that meant?
Yeah, so Project Eldest Son, I think it was CIA. They had I think it was like a top secret operation where they basically sabotaged munitions. Mm-hmm. And it was randomized. And it wasn't all of it, but the idea was a PSYOP campaign where the enemy wouldn't be able to trust the Chinese equipment. Because
right.
Boom, and your buddy just has gun explode. So huge concept. I don't think it was super effective, unfortunately, but definitely played into the PSYOP bit. And you don't even have to sabotage the the ammunition itself, right? But think about if you're able to, granted this is pretty out there, but the dummy rounds that we use for dry firing.
Yeah.
Imagine mixing that into some ammunition.
Oh God.
Ghost fire, click.
That would be. Yeah, that would be.
Which isn't as grand as having the whole gun explode, but it's a little extra.
It's definitely an annoyance, especially if they don't know how to do sports.
Or walk around with a ball peen hammer and just trash all the ACOGs. Or whatever sighting systems they have.
Or just steal their firing pins.
That would work too. That would work too. Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Or the firing pin retaining pin.
Goodness sakes, that would suck. I like the firing pin more, though, because no one's going to check their freaking bolt before they go to work.
No, they're not. They're not going to check their bulk carrier group either. I'm just trying to think. I mean, without getting into almost what SAS and
Hmm.
like World War II level sabotage and
Yeah.
actually having the infrastructure to do it, like I think just the
Well,
backwoods,
well, and that's the
Bubba type.
well, and we're taking this from the context of a resistance force, right?
Right.
This is not on a grand, scale.
No.
This is, what you have when you have it. What you're able to do to slow down a much larger, much more organized force, right?
Right.
So, and that's the whole thing the whole concept that we're trying to illustrate here is that it doesn't have to be this huge thing. You don't have to train pigeons to fly at, enemy destroyers with bombs, strapped to them in the hopes that, they'll fly home and destroy ships. You don't have to get too far into it. It's not that deep, bro. It just has to work.
Actually, along those lines, it's actually been really interesting watching the Ukraine-Russia war because now they're using drones as suicide drones strapped with explosives, and they're just driving them into people, driving them into foxholes, driving them into vehicles, and just blowing stuff up. It's incredible, and these drones are cheap.
Imagine the fear you would have if you're sitting in a foxhole in the dead of night and hear a little and that thing has thermals and that thing probably has a payload and you don't know where it is because you can't see the size of a baseball 20, 30 feet up.
Oh, right.
Like
There's a video.
it's a
I
whole
think it
new.
was
Yeah.
yeah. I think it was Funker 530 had a video of Ukrainian soldiers in like a trench that actually had a roof over it, and Russia was just dropping these suicide drones on their position, and you just hear boom, boom, and things just exploding, and
Hmm.
you can see like their overhead cover just exploding. Like that has got to be absolutely terrifying.
Dude, yeah. No. And
The amount
that's
of PTSD that's going to come out of that war is going to be incredible.
it's over 9,000.
It's at least six.
Yeah, but I mean, and going back to the whole resistance thing, like this just has to be what your capabilities are right now. I mean, anybody can go and buy a can of wasp spray. Anybody can buy a can of rattle can paint or expanding
Mm-hmm.
foam. Anybody
Mm-hmm.
can buy a freaking strand of copper wire and wrap it around a rock. I mean, it's just thinking outside the box. And what do we say at the beginning of the episode of what's important, right? So you're trying to destroy, damage, or obstruct,
Right.
right? So anything that you can do to those ends, and think of it, with resistance like a Hydra head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And with resistance being so small and so, what am I trying to say, decentralized, you
Mm-hmm.
can pop up somewhere and then disappear. And
Yeah.
that is a whole new level of conflict for an occupying force that they're not necessarily ready for. They're more focused on, bigger picture, like force on force type stuff. Not the population giving them absolute hell wherever they are.
Yeah. And you can honestly study, God, within the last 20, 30 years, the war in Chechnya, the Ukraine Russia war, even these conflicts that are going on in Africa. Like, if you want to study some more recent stuff to where the civilian population has actually risen up against an occupying force or some invaders, those are great ones to look at. Especially the war in Chechnya, that was some of the most brutal fighting I've ever seen in my life, and they were very, very, very effective
Mm-hmm.
at causing massive amount of hysteria and casualties to the Russian forces.
Yeah. Last word?
Miralax.
That's the wrong word. Like we said at the beginning of the episode, this is from a notional standpoint. This class is an important discussion, both for its value for an offensive and a defensive force. We're trying to, illustrate and portray the concepts and considerations surrounding that.
Absolutely.
Purely from an objective standpoint. So, with that being said, guys, I know this was a short class. Still had fun with it, but this was on Sabotage, and this ties into the broader concept of resistance, which I want to get into soon. But I think my last word, my big takeaway from this is not to limit yourself. Your mind is your greatest weapon, right? If you can think it, if you can dream it, you can do it. So, broaden your scope, think outside the box, and stay in the fight.